I'd love to introduce you to Peter Imanuelsen now, better known as PeterSweden on social media. He is a Swedish journalist and political commentator based in Norway. As a leading freedom fighter, Peter has greatly contributed to educating and keeping people updated on all matters related to globalism and the loss of our freedoms. It is my pleasure to welcome here today in Switzerland for this momentous occasion. Give him a warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Nor, for that. Hello, Switzerland. Awesome to see you. So many of you are standing for freedom today. These unelected elites at the WHO are here behind us, planning on how to control our lives. They want total control. With the new pandemic treaty that they're working on, they are planning on being able to force countries to introduce vaccine passports, quarantines, and even... Thank you. Can you hear better now? So, the WHO, with their pandemic treaty, they want to be able to force countries to introduce vaccine passports, quarantines, and even censor speech that the WHO deems to be misinformation. Say goodbye to free speech. You thought things were bad and tyrannical during COVID. Things are going to get a whole lot worse if the pandemic treaty goes ahead. They want... Just wait until they have the power to force countries to introduce totalitarian control measures against their will. Who voted for them? Nobody did. They're unelected elites that are deciding how you should live your life. This isn't democracy. This is a dictatorship. This is globalism, a global government. That is what they want. But this isn't limited just to WHO and their pandemic treaty plans. What we're seeing here is part of a bigger agenda. Klaus Schwab calls it the Great Reset. The UN calls it Agenda 2030. And I see many UN delegates walking around here on the streets of Geneva with their pins on their clothes, displaying the Agenda 2030 global goals. And what they're doing here at the WHO is actually working to fulfill those very goals outlined in Agenda 2030. Did you ever wonder about the Dutch farmers? How many of you have heard of Dutch farmers? Yeah, I was there a few months ago. They were protesting. And what they're going to do there is they're essentially going to seize thousands of farms because the government needs to reduce climate emissions for 2030. I wonder why it's for 2030. You know, climate change is one of the big things they're using right now to push this global agenda. In his opening speech here at the World Health Assembly, Dr. Tedros said that, quote, "The climate crisis is a health crisis." The elites don't care about the environment. I mean, we can see this. They're talking about eating insects, but they dine on the finest meats. The elites tell you to get rid of your car, but they fly here in their private jets. And I've actually seen them as well here in Geneva being chauffeured in really nice, expensive cars, probably with quite enormous emissions. It's quite a big hypocrisy, you know. The climate hysteria is just used to scare you into compliance with the agenda that they are working on, just like they did with COVID. It's all about fear. They want you afraid so that they can control you. We're also seeing central bank digital currency coming the next few years, all part of the same agenda. It's an excellent way to be able to, you know, stop people like us, dissidents, people who oppose the agenda. You know, people won't be allowed to buy or sell. It's going to be quite easy to do that, you know, with central bank digital currencies, especially when it's being tied to digital ID, which is coming. You know, Bill Gates, he recently donated over $1 billion towards funding the global goals outlined in Agenda 2030. He's heavily invested in this, what they call the new agenda. And think about that. It actually says in the Agenda 2030, they call it the new agenda. It kind of sounds familiar, that wording, doesn't it? The new agenda. And hundreds of millions of dollars of this Bill Gates money is actually going towards something called global digital ID. So this is something they're pushing hard. And digital ID is already here in Sweden and Norway, in Scandinavia, where I'm from. We are forced to use, more or less forced to use digital ID to do everything from buying things online, booking doctor's appointments online. You have to use digital ID to do those things already. And that's coming more and more to other countries as well. You see where we headed? Oh, and by the way, in Norway now they are getting a new form of the digital ID. which will use facial recognition and fingerprint scanning. We're heading towards a Chinese-style social credit system. And I want to give a shout out to our Freedom Trucker friends in Canada. They lost access to their bank accounts for daring to stand up against the COVID. And I think they really started a lot of the freedom protests we have been seeing around the world. And the things done during COVID was just a test run, I think. These power-hungry maniacs, they won't be satisfied until they have total control. That's why it's so important to use our precious free speech while we still have it, like we are doing here today, speaking up against, protesting against this agenda that they are working on right here at the UN here in Geneva. So we have to stand up and say that we the people reject your globalist agenda. We the people do not want the evil future that they are planning. We want freedom, we want democracy, we want love, not hatred. We want to live as free people, as is our God-given right, and we will. Thank you, everyone. Stay strong, my friends. It's been great coming here.